After leaving the bustling streets of yore, Abram and his family began their long journey north, following the great river that snaked through the land like a dusty road. When a cart rumbled by, dust would rise in a soft cloud, and the silhouettes of wandering shepherds stretched long in the reddish evening light. Days turned into weeks, flowing by as quietly as the river beside them. The river gradually narrowed, and the land around them grew more silent, more still. Finally, they entered a place filled with a kind of profound stillness they had never known back in yore. This place was Haran. During the day, Haran basked in warm, gentle sunlight. At night, a soft breeze drifted across the plains. There were no towering ziggurats here, no grand festivals shaking the city, no blazing torches lighting up the night sky. Instead, a wide open plain unfolded before them, with only the distant sounds of grazing animals carried quietly on the wind. The warm scent of pasture hung in the air, a gentle promise of a place where a new life could peacefully settle. To Abram's weary family, Haran felt like a true resting place, a shelter where they could finally catch their breath. They set up their tents, and as time passed, Abram's herds grew steadily. More tents were raised, one after another. Travelers who passed through came to trust him, not just for his growing wealth, but for his quiet, unwavering character. He didn't speak much, but there was a steady, grounded presence in everything he did. People sensed a depth in him, something gentle yet unshakably firm. Sarai was always by his side. She also spoke little, but she held the household together with a strong and steady heart. Her presence was a source of constant comfort and strength for Abram. Lot, too, was growing into a responsible young man, faithfully handling every task he was given. On the surface, life in Haran was calm, stable. It seemed to everyone that Abram had found his home, that he would remain there for a long, long time. Everything appeared to be falling into its rightful place. But deep within Abram's heart, something was stirring. It was like an invisible hand gently reaching into the depths of his soul, touching him, awakening a feeling he couldn't ignore. When the night grew deep, he often stepped outside his tent and looked up at the sky. And each time, the same feelings he had known as a boy in yore would return, a soft, aching longing for something more. Under those countless stars, Abram's heart filled with a quiet yearning he could not name. A sense that somewhere, somehow, he was being called. Then, one year, his father, Terah, fell ill. Terah had been the firm pillar of the family since they left Ur, but time was now pressing down on him in a way he could no longer resist. Abram stayed by his father's side every day, holding his hand, listening to his stories. Terah spoke of his youth, of memories long buried, and Abram quietly kept each word in his heart. Then, on a silent day, Terah breathed his last. Abram held his father's hand for a long time, unable to let go. A deep silence filled the tent, and for days, people spoke only in hushed voices as they mourned. When that time of grief passed, Abram sensed, though he couldn't yet explain it, that something fundamental in his life was about to shift. Something was coming toward him, slowly, steadily. One ordinary morning, the dawn air was clear and cold, carrying the faint, clean scent of the desert. The sky opened quietly above him, as if the heavens themselves were holding their breath. Abram was standing alone outside his tent when he heard it. The voice didn't come from behind him or from around him. It felt as if it was rising from the very stillness of the air. Abram, he froze. He couldn't move. He simply listened. The voice was unlike any human voice he had ever heard. It was gentle yet firm, soft yet carrying a depth that seemed to resonate straight through him into his very soul. Abram, the voice called again, as though it had known his name for all of time. Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. The wind, the grass, the distant air, everything seemed to pause. Abram stood there, holding his breath. The land he had come to know as home suddenly no longer felt like a place he could remain. It was as if a path had opened right before him, a path he had never imagined, yet somehow he knew he had to take it. He returned to his tent and quietly told Sarai what he had heard. She looked at him, her eyes a mix of surprise, fear, and wonder. But after a moment, she slowly nodded. She knew him? She knew that look in his eyes, the one he got when something true and undeniable had taken hold of his heart. Lot was startled by the news, but he too accepted Abram's decision without question. Soon the entire camp was bustling with activity. Tents were taken down, livestock gathered, water and provisions packed with care. People moved with hurried steps, whispering questions to one another. Where are we going? What kind of land awaits us? How far will this journey be? Abram answered them calmly, his voice steady. I do not know the land, but I know the one who is leading me." And strangely, those words were enough. A sense of calm settled over their hearts. The day of departure arrived. Sunlight spread slowly over the plains of Haran, casting long shadows from the remaining tents and the waiting animals. Abram stood on a small hill overlooking the camp. The wind brushed softly against his cheek. He took a deep breath, lifted his staff, and took the first step forward. Sarai followed right behind him. Lot came next. And behind them, a long line of servants and animals began to move, a slow and steady procession into the unknown. Haran grew smaller and smaller in the distance, and their shadows stretched far across the land in the morning light. Abram did not know where this path would lead him, but he knew with every part of his being that he had to walk it. His steps were moving toward a story far greater than anything he had ever known. And it all began on a quiet morning in Haran, with Abram's first step of faith into a future he could not see. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, please like, share, and subscribe for more journeys of faith. See you next time.